Welcome to the Jewish Cooking Connection, sponsored by the Jewish Federation of the San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. I'm Gina Freierman Hunt, and today I'm going to be baking Mandelbrot. Depending on where you come from, you might call it Mandelbrot or Mandelbrot. This is an Ashkenazi Jewish cookie, very similar to Italian biscotti. You make it by baking a flat loaf one time. Then you slice it up and you bake it again to make nice toasty, crispy slices. It's not quite as hard as biscotti, but it's got a lovely flavor. This is a dish I used to eat with my grandparents when I was a child. We used to get it at Brown's Bakery on Fairfax, near Fairfax on Wilshire Boulevard. And I have a really good memory of eating these cookies. The recipe I'm using today I found in the recipes left to me by my mother, and it's on a piece of newspaper cut out, I'm sure, many decades ago, and I've adapted that recipe to bake today. Now let's get started. In order to make Mandelbrot, you need the following ingredients: 3 eggs, 1 cup sugar plus 1 extra tablespoon sugar. The sugar is divided in 2. A cup of slivered almonds. These look like this. They're not sliced almonds, they're slivered. I accidentally bought toasted ones rather than the raw ones, and it came out just fine, but you can use either one in this recipe. We have a teaspoon of cinnamon, also divided to 1/2 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 lemon, and 1 orange. These are totally gigantic. The lemon because it came from my tree, and the orange because that's what they had when I went shopping. 3/4 cup of salad oil, whatever kind you have is fine. 4 cups of unbleached flour. You can use regular bleached flour, but I prefer the unbleached kind. 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And those are all the ingredients that we're going to use in this today. So the first step in this is to line a cookie sheet with parchment paper so it doesn't stick. Next, we're going to zest the lemon and the orange, and then we're going to squeeze the orange. If you've never used a lemon or orange zester before, this is what it looks like. It's a little metal thing, and it has 5 little holes in it on the end. So what you do is you hold it the pointed side towards the fruit, and you just pull down, and you get these little strips of zest coming off. It only takes a minute to do this. It's really quick. After that, we're going to mix the dry ingredients in a bowl. This is the flour, and to the flour we're going to add the baking soda, which is 1 teaspoon, the baking powder, which is 2 teaspoons, and just 1/2 teaspoon of the cinnamon. The other 1/2 we're going to use later. And the salt, which is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just going to, whoops, mix it together a little bit like that. The next step is to beat the eggs together with the sugar. This is the 1 cup of sugar. There's also a separate 1 tablespoon of sugar, which we're not using right now. That's a cup of sugar. And then we've got 3 eggs. And this we're just going to whisk it together till it gets nice and light colored. The sugar dissolves a little bit. Looks like that. Then we're going to add the oil. Orange juice. This is about 1/3 of a cup of orange juice. You could use refrigerated orange juice if that's what you have as well. Doesn't matter that much. And then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Whisk that up together just to mix it up. The orange juice smells really good. Then the flour mixture that's been whisked together goes in. This will make a really stiff batter. So I use a wooden spoon to mix this up with. And then what goes in with that is the almonds, and the citrus zest gets mixed in now. And after it sits for a minute, after mixing up, it's like you're mixing clay. It's really stiff, but you want to make sure that the almonds and the zest as well get mixed in throughout all the dough. So it takes a little elbow grease to do this. That's the dough. Really smells so great even before it's cooked. Then the next step to this is to form this into logs on the cookie sheet. I make this into 2 logs. You could make 3 if you wanted. If you want the cookies smaller, doesn't matter. You have to cook them a little bit shorter. So I put parchment paper on the cooking sheet. I like using a flat sheet like this rather than one with a rim, because you bake it for a while and then you slide it off, put it on the cookie sheet and slice it into slices. And it's a lot easier to slide it off of this than it is to slide it off a sheet that has a rim on the edge, because when it's warm it can still be kind of soft and you don't want to break it. Now find the bowl that you had the oil in, or the measuring cup, because we're going to use this to oil your hands with so the dough doesn't stick to it. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to pour a little bit on my hands. It's like really bad skin lotion. And then move these out of the way so I can get this a little closer to what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to use a couple of tablespoons to put this in a row on here, and then I'll adjust it with my hands because it's really, you can see, it's really thick and gloppy. So you want to put them about 1/4 of the way in from the edge of the paper. This will spread and rise quite a lot while it's cooking. A little more oil on, and then just form it into a long bar. It doesn't have to be perfect because it'll spread and rise while it's cooking, and it's all going to be cut in slices anyway, so you'll end up with different size slices after you cook it, which really doesn't matter. The next thing is to mix the 1 tablespoon of sugar that we saved from the beginning and the 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon together. And then you're going to sprinkle this on top of each strip of dough. Doesn't look like much when you look at it in here, but actually it turns out to be quite a lot when you're sprinkling it on top. And I like to sprinkle it on, and then after you sprinkle it, it's good to rub it in with your hand because that way it sticks better. And since these are going to get toasted on their side, you don't want all the cinnamon sugar to fall off while it's toasting. So I just rub it in and all over the top. Some of it will always come off, but gives it a nice flavor to have the cinnamon both on top and inside of the dough. Because this dough has a really nice combination of flavors. It's got the cinnamon, it's got the orange juice and the rind, the lemon juice, and the vanilla, and it has this aroma. When I first made this recipe and I tasted it, it just brought back that memory of my grandparents from that flavor and that smell, which is just a lovely feeling to have. So this is ready to go into the oven. You bake it at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes until it's lightly browned. So the Mandelbrot has been baking for 30 minutes. I've tidied up a little bit here in the meantime, and I'm going to take it out of the oven and slice it now. So here they are. Aren't they beautiful? I'm just going to slide it off. That's why I like this kind of cookie sheet without an edge, because it comes off really easily. Now this is hot, so I'm going to probably have to use a hot pad to hold on to it, but we'll see. And this needs to be sliced, both of them need to be sliced about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick. I slice them straight across. You can also slice them on an angle if you like that better. This goes back into the oven at 350 for 8 to 10 minutes. There they are. The sheet's still a bit warm, I think. And then you turn the oven down to 275 and you turn them all over. And you bake them for about 15 more minutes at 275. I like to check them about every 5 minutes and then turn them over if they've gotten too brown on the bottom. And you'll know they're done when they're completely dry and they're lightly browned all over. And then you let them cool and eat them. They're really delicious. I love to eat them with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I think you'll really enjoy these. It's really a memory to me of a long time ago, and brings back good memories of my family. So enjoy them.
כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה כתבו וטובו מלא עולם דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו המתקהל על חיות הקודש ונדע בכבוד המרכבה זכות ומשול לפני חיסו חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו